Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November, good question, 4th, 2025 at approximately 8 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's calling to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. Okay. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into things, first of all, I want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator in the background, and he takes care of all the technological stuff, as well as making certain that we don't have problem children in the house. Okay. Now, on top of that, and before we get into things, today we are going to be looking at letting go of your past. What does that mean, and how do you go about it? But before we do that, we have Mike Jones in the house with the gold. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And Mike, thank you so very much for the suggestion. We are going to, on this coming Saturday, we are going to be taking a look at reproductive methods of non-humans. Okay. I was actually just talking to Frank this afternoon about that. Well, actually right before we came on air, about the topic for what to do with Saturday. Still working on what to do with Sunday. But scroll down a bit here, and what do we got here? Okay. And that's where we're standing. Okay. Now, one of the things about letting go of your past, the first thing you've got to realize, and I had to do the same thing, by the way, you've got to realize that you cannot do a thing about your past. Whatever you've gone through, whatever you've experienced, however good it went, however bad it went, it is locked in place. There is no going back to change it. You can, however, modify what you're doing and essentially paint memories over top of it. Just like if you're painting your house. If you don't like the color of the room, repaint the thing. It doesn't stop the original paint job from being there. Okay, but what it does do is it puts a different view on it. Net result, you can relax a little more. At least that would be the theory. Now, I've taken a look at as much of my past as I can get away with. Okay. And all of it, with everybody, with no exception. Okay. Whatever you've gone through, accept the fact that you're stuck with those memories. That's what you went through. Okay. Now, here's the kicker. You may forget things that you did. Okay. Doesn't mean the memory's gone. You just misplaced it or forgot where you put it. Kind of like what I do with my coffee cup all the time. But when you let go of your past, we're not talking about you turning a blind eye and saying, that didn't happen. Okay. Everybody has done something in their past they're not happy about or they're not proud about. Okay. And as I've told even my wife, there are things in my past that will die with me. Okay. I won't discuss them with anybody. But knowing my own past, I had to look at it and go, okay, I've got to let go of certain things. Okay. And I've got to focus my attention on the things that are happening. Like, just to give you a primary example, I was bullied a lot of the time when I was a kid for my outlook on the world. That same outlook has carried on to this day, with the difference being that now people are looking at it and going, okay, that's a little weird, but it explains a whole lot. So I'm no longer being bullied because I've got an odd outlook. Okay. I'm certainly not somebody to stand on a pedestal and go, hey, I'm better than you are. I'm barely qualified to be me. And that's where the reality of it is. What we have to realize is however you got to where you are, that experience is what has put you in the shape you're in. And my suspicion is you didn't do it overnight. Okay. So now what you're looking at is it's time to start turning around and going, okay, I am now going to look at the world and I'm going to make my future. Well, more to the point, I'm going to adjust my present so that I am content with what I'm going through now. Okay. Maybe you had a falling out with a friend, with a family member or a friend. Okay. And I know there are some falling outs that was terrible English, that are pretty much irreparable. Okay. In a case like that, do your best to let it go and realize, yes, things were said, things were done. Forgive forgive yourself most of all. Okay. For walking into whatever it was that you're not content with. Eternity Eternal, how you doing? You are in with the silver today. Nice to see you again. When you've had a falling out with a family member or a longtime friend, remember, you're only 50% of the solution. No matter how much effort you put in, it's only 50%. Okay, and LA Moon has entered the room. This is our primary moderator in the chat room. And she is there to help questions come along if things start to stall. And you'll see this happen on occasion, LA keeps a very close eye on my own health. Okay. So if she all of a sudden pipes up and goes, Keith, you're going through a sugar crash. Okay. That is when I take a look at it and go, okay, I'm going to go deal with it right this moment. Okay. Now, here's a real wonderful shock for you. Okay. I came out of the hospital at the beginning of October. Right. And this is where putting your past behind you comes into play. For me, understand I don't trust doctors to start with regards to myself. But here's the thing. They released me without any, they told me to go to the local lab and get some tests done. Didn't give me a requisition for them. They gave me a month worth of medication for diabetes and for blood thinners. Never gave me a refill requisition. Right. So, and I've already contacted 2 of the local labs to see if that's where they sent them. 2 of the local pharmacists to see if that's where it went. I'll phone the 3rd one, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, I can hold that against the entire medical profession, but I'm just going to look at it going, I'm going to look into herbs and dietary changes and simply move forward, because I can't do anything about the past. I can certainly push them for answers, but let's face it, if you have to push a doctor for answers, there's a problem. Yeah, LA goes, sugar crash is a bad thing. Absolutely it is. So, I mean, here I am, and, I'm working on adjusting a lot of things, but I've changed. I take a look at my past. The dietitian I was talking to, she goes, what was your diet like before you ended up in a hospital? I looked at her, I said, that's easy to sum up. Bad. Okay. And I can't do anything about what I did before. All I can do is adjust what I'm doing now. Okay, so that's where I'm heading. With your past, there are so many people I've talked to that have gone, I wish I had never started smoking. Well, sorry guys, if you started smoking, you can wish it all you'd like. You still started smoking. But, newsflash, I am sitting on a method that has been tested by literally thousands of people to quit smoking, quit drugs, quit alcohol, each one of them, no matter how long you've been on them, without withdrawals. Okay. And I mean, it has been tested. Now, I tested it in a manner of speaking regarding drugs and alcohol. I didn't test it myself with cigarettes, but then understand I never started smoking. Okay, so that just didn't work. I wasn't going to start to test it. Okay, but what I did find is the number of people I've handed this to, they've turned around. The ones that have followed it through are no longer doing drugs, no longer drinking alcohol in excess. And again, the real kicker to it is no withdrawals. Now, if you're a pack rat, okay, again, your past led you to hang on to all this stuff. You can't do anything about the fact it's there. What you can do is give yourself permission to move forward and let it go. What do we got here? Oh, okay, well, that's okay. So at this point, I'm looking at a simple issue. From your standpoint, well, oh, okay. Thank you so much, LA. You know, the nice part about the past is it's always going to be there. As we discussed the other day, it is written in the Akashic record, so you don't have to worry about not having access to it. But it also means you cannot change it. Why am I getting blinking lights? That's cute. Anyway, when we talk about putting the past to rest, this doesn't mean denying it. It means going, okay, I made that miscalculation or I made that right decision, and it is now in motion. I cannot change the fact I chose to do that, but I can certainly alter the path by adjusting how I'm behaving now. You know, one of the biggest tricks that I found a long time ago was when you look at your past, if you see something you're not content you set in motion, you can stop feeding that miscalculation or that poor choice. You can stop feeding it now. Okay, I talked to my dietitian the other day. Yesterday, I think. Yesterday. And told her I can absolutely stop changing things, stop doing what I was doing and work on my health. Okay, can't do anything about letting it slip before, but now I'm moving forward with it. And I'm not sitting here going, oh, I made such a mess of things. Now I'm looking at it going, this is where I am. Okay, this is now what I'm doing. Okay, but remember, it doesn't change your past. It simply alters the path, the direction your life is heading. I saw something on the internet today, and it just dawned on me. This person puts a post up. She goes, somebody gave me a half a peace sign, and I didn't understand what they meant. So I gave them a half a peace sign back. Well, half a peace sign, as you well know, when you hold up a peace sign, sorry guys, I get two at a time. When you hold up a peace sign, okay, you hold up the index finger and the middle finger. My middle finger and ring finger don't tend to separate, so I'm stuck with it. But guess which finger they held up that was only half the peace sign? Okay. And again, the important factor that you got to remember, however you're treating people, however you've treated people in the past, You cannot alter the way you've done things. You can, however, ensure that you don't continue doing them. Now, there are certain things I've heard people say that the damage is so extreme, the odds are you're not going to end up repairing it, although it is possible, depending on the other party. I know of a couple of instances where a parent literally told their kid, "You're not my child." Okay, they were, whatever the kid did, the parent turns around and goes, "You're not my child." That kind of a comment, that kid is going to remember forever. Okay. Just like with my kids, I turned around and told them flat out, "You ever require a place, the door is always open." And I will never change that. Okay, that's the way my world goes. When we look at your own past, maybe you put things off for a while. As you know, I had a lot of books on the go that I was writing. And the last 3 months, I quit writing them all together. Primarily because of the fact that, well, let's see. August I got married. September I died. October I was recovering. Starting this morning, I started getting back to the writing side of it. I cannot do a thing about the fact I stopped. Didn't have a lot of options. Okay, so now what I'm doing is pushing to get them all done. Oh, for a minute there, I read that wrong. Now, from here on out, I mean, we are finally, after 3 years, we are now at 700 subscribers. Okay, and what that means is about 28,000 people that we're reaching, maybe more. Okay, I've got to go back into YouTube and see what the take is. What the average is at this point. But I will tell you, we are now starting to plan things so I can get everything moving in the right direction. And I will tell you, much like what Mike did, Mike Jones just tonight, if you look up a little, suggested a topic for this coming, for the near future. As it turns out, I hadn't booked Saturday already. So this Saturday, we are going to be talking about reproductive methods for non-humans. No, we are not getting graphic. Okay, at least not in the way that some people may like. The reality is not all creatures reproduce the same way. Okay, the outcome is pretty much the same, but the methodology to start with is quite often different. And when I look at the past, I go, okay, I'm not happy where I am. I do not have to understand or even remember my entire past. Neither do you. All you've got to do is make sure that from here on, you do not do things that you know are going to be a problem. Okay? For instance, cutting a police officer off while you're driving is certainly a bad idea. It's a bad idea to cut anybody off, but it's worse with a police officer. Whatever you went through to get your life to where it currently is, we can safely say it did not happen overnight in most cases. Now, yes, there is a gentleman that we haven't seen in the chat room for a while, okay, that had an overnight problem, right, where he had a situation that turned his world upside down in a heartbeat. I had a neighbor that literally, in a heartbeat, not only did their life get turned upside down, actually theirs got ended. The wife and their daughter was left behind. Okay, but nobody can change that. That's the way their life turned. What they can do is move forward. Okay, and the question that I really look at this point is with where your life is right now, with the way things are sitting, with the world as you see it. Are you content with your contribution to the world around you? Okay, if you're not, this is the time to say, okay, my past left me sitting on the sidelines. I haven't done anything to help. I haven't done anything to hinder. I just sat there and watched. Well, do like I did. Go, I'm no longer interested in sitting by the sidelines. So I'm now seeking a way to live, to experience life, and to enjoy the changes that are taking place. Okay, the reality is, if you're not content with the way your life is, take a look at the past, because that's the pattern you're likely still following. And if you don't alter that path, the odds are you're going to have a problem. Okay, you're going to keep repeating the same sequence of events, and your life is going to stay in a rather stagnant fashion. Therefore, it is now time to deliberately step back and go, okay, where am I standing? Am I content? If the answer is no, make a change. Okay, it doesn't even have to be a big change. What is this? This is a question of simply making a change that you're content with. Nobody else has to be. Okay. And one of the things you have to remember is, let's say you make a change that you're not content with. Okay, you're not happy with your past, so you make an alteration to it. What happens is this. Okay, if you're not content with the way that change took place, it is time to turn around and go, I'm not leaving it that way. I'm going to change it again. This is the nice thing about the future as compared to the past. The past you can't do a thing with. So let me ask you guys, and absolutely, this is an open question. If you've got something you'd like to add or volunteer, definitely do so. If there were one thing in your current life that you would like to see different, what would it be? In my case, it's simple. I intend on becoming debt-free ASAP. So I have started absolutely changing the path things are following in order to ensure that I manage to attain that goal. Okay, the question is, are you in a position, in a mindset that will enable you to literally look at your past and go, okay, I did all these things, whether they were good or bad, that's your call. Okay, of course, if it was illegal, the odds are that somebody else had something to say about it. But in either event, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you cannot alter what you used to do. What you can do is go, I'm not happy with the outcome. Operation, how you doing? You are in with the bronze. And Operation Shutdown is going, does letting go of the past include letting go of past lives? And not letting go of the past lives, because everything written is there. However, it does mean letting go of the negative aspect of them. If you had a past life whereby you were doing something that in today's world you consider heinous, do yourself a favor, don't replicate that life. Okay, the neat part about it is that your past lives do help form the way you look at the world this lifetime. I'll tell you, during the Spanish Inquisition, I was a zealot with a sadistic streak. Okay, I am not about to go and replicate that this lifetime. At that time, I could make things last for a long time. Frankly, at the time, I was good at it. And honestly, the people that were paying me to do that were extremely pleased with the results. This lifetime, I find them absolutely heinous to consider. But just like you cannot alter the past this lifetime, you can't alter the fact that you had a past life that was good or bad. Now, I've had past lives where I was very well off. Those I'm intending on replicating this lifetime. I'm only just getting started. Okay, and this is why, to be able to modify my life this time, at this point, I am now looking at what I did, the way I treated people, and the way I climbed in and up the social ladder. Okay, the fact of the matter is, all of those skills from your past lives are still available to you. Okay, now, would that I could draw and sculpt like I used to. At this point, I know what I can see. Now I'm starting to teach myself how to do, like, the paint to start with. Then I'm going to be working on drawing, or more to the point, simultaneously drawing, writing, all of it. The fact of the matter is, I'm referring, when I say let go of your past, the emphasis is on your negative past, the things that you've done or that you've experienced that you're not content with. Okay, or that perhaps you wish you had done a different way. Okay, now you can't do anything about the fact that you did it in a negative fashion, but you can certainly start putting your focus on doing it in a positive one. One obvious example is, let's say you spent your life being very closed-mouthed. That was terrible pronunciation. And you desire to start being a little bit more socially active. It is up to you to open your mouth and say something, and that may be nothing more than hello. Okay, that's the neat part about it. It does not take a real big change to make things happen. But it is up to you to put the effort into making those changes take place. Something else to look at is, if you're not content with the way you see other people treating somebody, two things to keep in mind. One, do not emulate them. And two, when it is safe, I strongly, and I do this myself, okay, and this is the only reason I will say I recommend it. If it is safe, absolutely say something about the behavior. Okay, here's a safe example. I was standing in Tim Hortons, which in Canada it's a wonderful little coffee and donut shop. And I was standing behind a woman that was at the counter. The cashier she was dealing with, and you got to realize, the hot chocolate is around the corner of the counter. Okay, but that's the way it's set up. So the woman asked this cashier very politely, "I'd like a hot chocolate." The cashier goes, "No problem. I'll just grab it for you." She steps around the corner, and the woman that was being polite looks at her and goes, "What, you're stepping around the corner so you can spit in my hot chocolate?" Now, I was standing right behind this customer. And I looked at her, I said, "Excuse me, around here they don't do that. But I'm pretty certain, with an attitude like yours, we can certainly arrange for it to happen." Now, this was a safe environment. Okay, the odds of this woman doing anything like violent, virtually non-existent. Of course, I've had a lot of years watching people. And there is no doubt my mouth quite often goes into gear way before my brain catches up. This is why I say that filter of mine is, quite frankly, a little slow. Yours likely says something like, oh, before you open your mouth, that little voice in your head goes, you shouldn't say that. Mine is a little bit redacted. It goes, you really shouldn't have said that. Usually that means it's too late. But when we talk about letting go of your past, accept the fact you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that are not going to work out the way you'd like. But this is the point. This is where you forgive yourself enough that you can move forward. Okay? And the one mantra I came across a long time ago was, you literally look in the mirror. If you've done something you're really feeling bad about, find whatever reflective surface you can. Okay. You find whatever reflective surface you can. Look in the eyes of the guy or the girl looking back at you, and you literally tell them out loud, okay, I forgive you for everything you have done and everything you feel you may have done to hinder my personal growth and happiness. Okay. The reality of it is you will make mistakes. Okay. I never question, am I going anymore? I don't question, am I going to put my foot in my mouth? I question how I'm going to get the second one in there with it. Because, well, let's face it, mouth in gear, brain catches up. Oh, Blue, how you doing? You are in with honorable mention. Glad to see you. One of the nice parts about the past, now, clearly, we can't do much about the past at this point. Nobody can. I love the people that tell me, that come up to me and go, oh, I can go into the past and alter this. I have never, and when I mean never, I mean my entirety of my existence. Not just this lifetime, by the way. Okay, but the entirety of my existence. I have never seen anybody travel into the past and do anything because, frankly, they can't get to the past. And yeah, I know there are those of you out there that are saying, you can travel to the past. You just have to be careful what you do. It's a wonderful thought, and it makes beautiful storyline. But can you alter the past? The answer is no. You can, however, quit focusing on the past and focus on making your life from this moment forward a better life. Okay? By not doing things that you already know from past experience, whether it's your experience or talking to somebody else that did it. You already know what doesn't work well. The neat part about it is with that reflective surface, and here's the thing, you can do this in your mind or out loud, but I will tell you, like, the easiest way to do it is to sit down quietly or stand up if you're looking in the mirror. Okay? And you literally make that statement. Okay? But I recommend doing it out loud because it adds emphasis to the impact. You can do that. And this applies, by the way, boy, I should really finish one thought at a time. What do you think? What do we got here? I recommend doing it vocally. Okay. And it applies to if you've lost a loved one. Okay. And unfortunately, people lose loved ones all the time. Right? But you take that reflective surface, you sit down, you look in the mirror and in the reflective surface and you literally tell it, I forgive you for everything you have done and everything you feel you may have done to hinder my personal growth and happiness. Okay. Now, you do that in private, nobody will question it. Okay. If you happen to do it out in public, there's no real problem. If you're out in public, certainly if you're shy or if you feel it's necessary, run that concept through your brain. Now, personally, of course, I'm a bit of a sheep disturber. Personally, I like the idea of sitting down in a restaurant and literally you look in the mirror in that reflective surface, and you literally tell them, I forgive you for everything you have done and everything you feel you may have done to hinder my personal growth and happiness. You will be amazed at how much easier it is to let go of the past when you do that. Now, I mentioned the graveyard. This is because if somebody has passed away, okay, and you feel you didn't get to tell them something, you can do it in one of two ways. Either grab a picture of whoever it was, as recent picture as you can get. Although if they died in a violent car accident, I'd recommend not using that picture. Okay, but you take a picture, and in the privacy of your own room, of your own home, hold that picture in front of you and talk to that individual as though they are literally right there. Rest assured, although they may not be able to respond to you, they will be able to hear you. Okay, now you got that option. You can go to any gravesite. Doesn't even have a graveyard. Doesn't even have to be the one that your loved one is in. Okay, and you can sit down and do the same thing. Take that picture of the individual out, and you sit there and talk to them, tell them everything you feel, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and tell them out loud. Okay. Now remember, in a graveyard, nobody is going to sit there and complain that you're talking to a deceased person. Everybody takes it for granted that that's what happens, right? Now, my personal favorite is to take a picture of whoever it is that you've lost. Okay. Go down to whatever restaurant that you like. And I kind of recommend going to one that you're not known at. Okay. You may find it easier. And sit there with the picture in front of you, talking out loud to that individual that has already passed away. Okay. Now, people may think you're just a little weird. So be it. You probably are. Yeah. Operation goes, nowadays you can get away with talking to yourself in public. A lot easier because people think you're just using a cell phone or talking on a hands-free device. Absolutely. Okay. You're absolutely right, Operation. And, from my standpoint, when we're talking about dealing with the past losses or past miscalculations, sometimes it helps. And I find this works really well for some people. Find someone you can talk to. Maybe it's a good friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a total stranger. But I will tell you that vocalizing the disappointment you have in yourself over what you did, okay, or over how you behaved, may well be the best way of helping yourself put things to rest. Okay. One of the other things that we look at regarding the past, since you cannot alter what the past is, okay, what has already happened. I know there's some of you that are going to say, yes, you can. Be my guest. I have never, in all my lifetimes, in all the restructuring of the third dimension, I've never seen anybody move into the past and alter any of it. Seen a lot of people look at past mistakes and go, gee, I wish I hadn't done that. But now is your chance to alter the path you're on. And that simply means stop following the bad decisions you've been making. Okay, maybe it's a question of you no longer are content with the fact that you've been drinking too much. Well, guys, it's not an easy maneuver. Not for most people. But the trick is, and this is way simpler to say than do, I'll tell you that. If you feel you're drinking too much, quit grabbing the bottle. Okay? It's one of these things that you've got definitive control over. What? Yeah, LA is absolutely correct. LA goes, I like, where are we here? I like exercises like this to go into a parked car alone. Okay, and there's a real reality there. Because if you're in a parked car alone and you're talking to yourself, nobody even thinks about it. These are just simple techniques I personally use myself. And as I said, I have passed these on to thousands of other people over the years in order to make this happen. And all we have to realize is that in order to make this happen properly, all you have to do is give yourself permission to move forward. Nobody else has to even know about it. You just simply have to start altering what you're doing. If you're aiming at losing a bit, at dropping weight, number one, don't ever use the term lose weight. Because when you're losing something, almost invariably people go looking to find it and get it back. And in the case of weight, you usually get it back with company. What you do is you go, I'm now dropping X amount of weight. And then the kicker, quit putting food in your face. Okay? If you're having trouble with that, something along the lines of water works like a charm. Okay? Or any food that is primarily water. The ones I tend to turn to are celery. Okay? Which are a lot of water. A lot of people recommend watermelon. Now, personally, I don't like the flavor of watermelon, with one exception. Take a watermelon that's about that big around, punch a hole into it, and if you are of age, of drinking age, this works like a charm. You take a watermelon, you take a bottle of vodka, you turn it upside down into the watermelon. The vodka will dissolve the innards of the watermelon, and now you've got a watermelon that you can drink. Don't drink it all at once. It's going to leave you with a very bad hangover in all likelihood. Oh, there we go. One of the things we have to remember about the past is, if you dwell on what you did wrong, every time you bring it up, every time you revisit that miscalculation, what ends up happening is you draw that energy back into the present, and now you got to start over getting rid of it. And as with all habits and all tendencies, virtually all habits and tendencies, it takes an average of 21 days to break a habit or form one. Okay? And this is why it is so imperative to stay on top of things and really deliberately push the past memories, the ones you're not content with. Push them aside and focus on the ones you like. What have we got here? I really got to do something about my eyeballs or the monitor. You know, one of the biggest things that I have found where it comes to the past is take a look at the past and realize everything you went through, good, bad, and neutral, is exactly what made you who you are today. Okay, so when I'm talking about putting the past or letting the past go, I'm not talking about putting your past to rest and saying it didn't happen or I'm so ashamed of it. It is literally a question of going, I'm no longer replicating it. You know, this is the issue that that it would be wise to look at. Okay, and quite frankly, in my opinion, wise to implement. The thing you've got to realize is no matter who tells you to let it go, it's just, as the saying goes, as the song by Miranda Lambert puts it, it's just a breakup. Okay, or it was just money. Well, I'm telling you, if like this one businessman I run into, he lost everything and ended up living on the street. And you could have looked at him and went, it's just material stuff. But to the individual suffering from that loss or beating themselves black and blue for a bad choice, it is a very big deal. Where? Oh, yeah. And, I could give you all sorts of things on that end. But again, guys, that watermelon trick is only if you are of legal drinking age. Okay. Now, I cannot stop anybody from utilizing it. But it's not illegal to do it if you're of legal drinking age. But I will tell you, you drink all of that at one shot, you're likely to have a hangover. Not my doing. But when we talk about putting the past behind you, remember, all of your decisions to date, including the last couple of minutes, like if you joined us at the beginning of this stream, every decision you made up until you picked that and that made that decision to join us here, which I really do appreciate, by the way, every decision you made is what makes you who you are at this moment. Okay. And that's just the reality behind it. Where are we here? Blue Cruise is going, would a computer screen magnifier be a possible solution for your eyesight? The short answer would be yes. But here's the thing, just so you're aware, I've already got, and here it is here. I've already got this docking station. Where are we here? There. I've already got this docking station and a monitor that is roughly 4 times the size of the one I'm looking at right now. Once this stream is over the next couple of days, I'm going to be swapping things around so that come Saturday when I come back on this stream, I'll be able to look at the big monitor and be able to see what I'm reading. This will make it so much easier. I used to have 4 monitors on one laptop. I've only got one extra one at this point. But a magnifier is actually a viable option. Okay, I just am going to end up using the big monitor that I already have. You know, one of the biggest things with regards to past decisions, okay, and this is why I say it's time to put the past to rest. Okay, that past is any decision you feel, any path that you're currently following that for whatever reason you ended up on. Now is the time to stop following it if you're not happy with the outcome. By no longer adding the negative to your life, you can change the outcome of your future, or more to the point, the development of your future, into something far more enjoyable. Okay, I mean, you think about it. I go back 3 years. I was 246 pounds. I made some very definitive decisions. And I just noticed, LA, thank you very much. We're down to 15 minutes. I made some very definitive decisions that I am no longer keeping that weight. I am now down to 166. What do we got here? Donna C., how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Donna C. is going, what do you think of young adult children making bad choices? Like, how should a parent cope? Detach with love? Okay, 2 factors. One, every child is absolutely going to make bad decisions. Okay, the best I can suggest, and this applies to pretty much every decision they make. Okay, this is what I told my own kids. Whatever you do, be honest with me. If you do something stupid, okay, or if you break the law, okay, be honest with me. If you break the law, you will have to deal with it, but I will walk through it with you. Okay, if you break the law and you lie to me, I'll be the one at the front of the line with a baseball bat and a noose. When an adult child makes a bad choice, and you know it's a bad choice, absolutely, if you've got the opportunity, warn them about it, ask them to double check what they're thinking of doing. Okay, if they did something wrong and you find out about it, or they made a bad choice, and now they come to you, number one, immediately, and this is the one thing you never do, never, ever, ever tell a child at any age, you're not my child. Unless, in fact, they aren't your child. Okay. But, absolutely, if they come to you and you know they've made a bad decision, absolutely, thank them for coming clean with you. Okay. And sit down and talk to them adult to adult. Help them figure out how to correct it. Ask them questions like, what do you think you can do to put yourself back on track? Interact with them. Do not come at them with condemnation. Okay, this is, where do we go? Oh, here we are. Bad choices like how a parent detach. Okay. And of course, Donna C. has said, I still have my child in my life, but it's hard to deal with seeing them slip in life. And absolutely it is. When you watch a kid make a choice and you see the outcome, especially if you already know how to go through it, it's harder than all get out to watch them go through it. But that's where being a parent, that's where it becomes imperative that you stand and that you sit there with them and you let them know that you're not condemning them for it. Yes, they definitely did something wrong. If they've come to you, offer to walk through them with it, through it with them. And certainly, before you start saying, well, do this, ask them first and foremost if they would like your input or if they just require a sounding board. This is the easiest way to get them, the easiest way I've discovered to help an adult child come clean and talk through the decisions they've made. And yes, I know this works because I've got 2 kids of my own. Okay. And I've absolutely had to do this sort of thing. But the trick is, do not judge what they've done. Absolutely. If they did something you know was dense, absolutely acknowledge the fact that it wasn't their best choice. Okay. But do not look down on them and go, well, that was really stupid. Okay. Do not become, verbally derogatory, towards them. Because I will tell you, the damage will be a lot worse than if you sit there going, well, not the best move you could have done. And if you can think of a positive aspect to it, okay, like for instance, somebody goes speeding through an area and the cops pull them over and they lose their license. Okay, you look at them and go, well, okay, that wasn't your best move. And sure, you lost your license, so let's work around it. What options do we have? And look at the bright side. You didn't kill anybody. Or you weren't in an accident. It helps if you can spot something of a positive outcome or a positive take on whatever they did. Because I'll tell you, if they're feeling that if they themselves feel they made a bad move, then I'm telling you, helping them see that you're not upset with them is absolutely going to benefit them. Storm, thank you so much. Now, Friday I'm on Spaced Out Radio and from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. That said, we will be back on Saturday with reproductive methods of non-humans. Okay. That said, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you again. Until that time, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.